evening and welcome back to Kevin's TV. It's been a cold and brutal, ill week here in the Mid-South. But on the swift side, have you ever wondered where paramedics and law enforcement agencies come from? Oh, well, I have. So, on the swift side of that, in today's edition of day 19 of Let's Talk History / Black History, what would the world be like without law enforcement as paramedics? Well, see, in the early 1950s into the 60s and 70s, if you were suffering from a medical emergency or nature involving law enforcement, your chances of survival or attention were very minimal. And that was because of the lack of African American men and women that were able to hold those jobs then due to segregation and racism. I told you guys in one of my previous videos, in the 1960s, Governor Wallace of Alabama stood proud on promoting racism and segregation. And when those black men and women were mourning for the losses of those 4 girls that died in that church bombing incident and the other individuals that were impacted by it, he immediately called and sent out white law enforcement agencies. Now, listen to me here. And I quote, "History can show you that it was one pile of mess. It can show you the tremendous progress and knowledge, and it can also show you the behavior of laws and civilizations during segregation and racism. It can also show you the good, the bad, and the memorable." Tony Judd. Now, there was a quote that I just read. Now, you guys should take that quote and read it and understand it. But in today's Black History Fact, we'll discuss the Freedom House Ambulance in 1967, which was formed in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was by a black man and white doctors, and their mission was to serve and respond to the black community for which people needed help in times of emergency. It all began with Kevin Hazard, John Moon, Peter Sadar, and Nancy Caroline. Their missions were to battle racism in the community and the government and more. Well, you had John, who was an orphan, Peter, who was a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and they were all trained under Dr. Peter himself, which was to ensure the safetyness of the community in their job, which consisted of a lot of ups and downs. And, despite the odds there, they still, went on to do their due diligence, complete their mission, which was to serve the community. And, protecting first responders to the black community. Well, switching gears here on our law enforcement, Willie G. Overton, which was the first American officer in Omaha, Nebraska, and John Taylor Alcorn, who was the first African American police officer in Los Angeles, California. Before black men and women were recognized as policemen and women, heading into the early 2000s. Dr. Peter and Nancy, were white American doctors, but this shows you the sympathy and empathy that white Americans had during the time of segregation and racism, that actually cared or played a role into history and black history. And now that's what I'm not serious say, black history / history. And now this is for my young boys and girls. I would like for you all to go watch the movie Selma. And Selma is a quick movie for you all to watch that will teach you all a quick, simple bigotry and a loving way which segregation and racism and all of the different roles that had played. That's what I say in that quote, black history will teach you, mold you, and it will make you cry, and it will make you love and understand in a certain way. But without these stories and these black history figures that we had, then black history would not be what it is, and the first responders either. And on the other hand, also in today's time, well, sometimes you can call in an emergency and it could take 30 minutes to an hour for first responders to respond. And that's on paramedics and law enforcement agencies such as police officers. Well, that's how it was then, which took a long time for the law enforcement agencies or paramedics to respond because of the lack of African American men that they had then. But police officers that I know personally, they say that, well, it's based off of the type of call in which they get first and the order in which it's received. Well, isn't that why you call first responders and that they patrol certain areas or neighborhoods, throughout the day? They should monitor that neighborhood, throughout that day, so that they can be the first responders to the scene. And the first responders of paramedics to that scene also. To, serve and protect that neighborhood, whether it's white neighborhood, black neighborhood, or a mixed neighborhood, or whatever. And we're gonna wrap up our video here. But before we wrap up our video, I hope you guys understood and learned something in this video. And I'm explaining or discuss how a black man and a few white doctors became the first responders to form paramedics and assist the neighborhood in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which was to, again, serve and protect those ones who were in the need of emergencies and, be taken to local hospitals. Because again, at that time, there wasn't many black men or women first responders. They were only white. And, if you were in a emergency crisis or something, the level of possibility for your health to be responded was very minimum, such as literally like this. And you either just suffer or you will die, or you have to wrap yourself you know, and a bandage with a t-shirt or wrap and just call it a day, you know, fix it. Have with the police officers, you know, the neighbors, the citizens, they had to do whatever they could to assist each other. And that's why I say that for my boys and girls of the young ages, go watch the movie Selma. Selma really taught me and illustrated to me what it was like all of the ways from segregation and racism. Like, it's one quick movie. It's about an hour long, and it teaches you, excuse me, everything from all that time lapse from the minute that segregation and racism start, and all of the impacts all the way until the end. So, with that being, again, I hope you guys learned something in my video today. I hope you guys will be back for the next few days that we have, and for next month, and so forth and so forth. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, give me to my road for my 500 subscribers, and see you on my next video. Thank you.